لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله ما لنا رب سوى لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين. We talked about the difference between Sirat and Sabil, and in addition to some kind of linguistic differences or some kind of obvious differences, like that, for example, Sirat most of the time is attributed to God, but very rarely it's attributed to people, unlike Sabil, which can be quite frequently found to be attributed to human beings. The main thing that we said about the difference between Sirat and Sabil is that Sirat is used in the Quran as one main path, and that is the path of obedience, path of worshiping God. And then under this one main and general path, you can find many derivative paths and ways of obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that I explained. And I think what Allama says is compatible with what I said. He doesn't say that expressly, but I think what he says can be reduced to what I said. The other issue that Allama mentions is that he says there might be a kind of relation between the literal meaning of Sirat and the Quranic usage of Sirat. He says Sirat is al-wadhihu min at-tariq, means the path which is clear, and he says it has been taken or derived from the root sarata. Saratu sartan, when you swallow something and you, for example, take it fully, this is called sarata. And he says it seems that Sirat is the clear path that when someone takes that path would not go away. So the path is swallowing or taking completely the person who is on the path. Okay? So كَأَنَّهُ يَبْلَعُ صَالِكِهِ فَلَا يَدَعُهُمْ يَخْرُجُوا عَنْهُ وَلَا يَدْفَعُهُمْ عَنْ بَاطِنِهِ. So it takes them in and does not let them go out. So how can we explain this? What type of path is this that it takes its followers and doesn't let them out? It must be something very clear or something very wide, that when people are on that path, they will not go away. Okay? So he wants to make a kind of connection between the literal meaning of Sirat and the root and the way it is used in the Quran. I don't know how these kind of things can be useful to say that literal meaning and what the Quran says, how much they are connected, because you may use it in different ways, and you may say that it's not that the path is taking in the person, maybe it's the person who is taking and absorbing the path instead of the path. But anyway, I don't think these are things that need to be discussed that much. The main thing is that from the Quran we understand that the path is something, the Sirat is the path which is the major path, and it is like a kind of motorway, a kind of expressway And under that you can find some derivative roots and some kind of, for example, sections, for example. If it is 1,000 kilometer, so you can divide it into 10 parts if they come each after the other. Or sometimes they don't come after, but they are next to each other. For example, it's a motorway, it's 1 kilometer wide. So whether you take the first line or second line or third line, so there are different ways to be in this motorway. Both vertically and horizontally, you can be located in different parts of this motorway. Yeah.
If it is so vast that you said, why you know that somebody asked Amir al-Mu'minin that why do you say Sirat al-Mustaqim, aren't you in the right path? He said we ask Allah to keep us on the right path. If it is so vast, so how come that a person like Amir al-Mu'minin may come out of, or ordinary people, shouldn't they come out of this way if it is so vast?
You know, this path is a path which has different characteristics for different types of people. As Imam Zain al-Abidin says, ما أوضح الحق عند من هديته سبيله وما أضيق الطرق على من لم تكن دليله. By comparison, we realize that the same path for some people is very clear and wide, for some people is unclear and narrow.
So it's not general.
So it's not the same for everyone. As far as the path is concerned, it is a straight path, it is clear, but still some people may be in difficult term to find out the path. Not because of the path, because of themselves. So for some people it can be something like motorway. For some people can be a very tiny, bridge, or like suspended bridge. Sometimes in valleys there is a suspended bridge. One person can go it with difficulty. So Sirat al-Mustaqim for some people is very easy. Some people so quickly, fastly can cross. Some people with difficulties. So it depends on people. At the end, Allama makes few final comments or remarks as a summary, but with some extra points also, but mostly as a summary. He says these 5 points can be understood from what we said. One is that the path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are different in perfection and imperfection, in being good or bad, being short or long. There are different ways. As you remember, he talked about the long journey towards Allah, which is for those who are forced to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya ayyuhan nas innaka qadihun ila rabbika kathan famulaghi. Everyone would meet Allah, but some people will take very long distance. For some people is very near. And also the journey upwards, downwards, and also those who are stuck, which are zalin. You remember these things. The second point that he makes is that Sirat al-Mustaqim is overwhelming, or it's governing over all other sabil. So Sirat al-Mustaqim is the main thing, and under that we have sabil. And he says that therefore the people to whom Sirat al-Mustaqim belongs, and those are Nabiyyin, Shuhada, Siddiqeen, Salihin, these are the people also who have some kind of authority over normal mu'mineen, because their path is the main path. So normal mu'mineen also come under the authority of those 4 groups of people that are the real, guardians of Sirat al-Mustaqim. And then he mentions وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ الرَّفِيقَ. And these are, of course, very good companions or good friends. Do you know why Rafiq is called Rafiq? Because he's considerate. He's not putting too much pressure on you, not expecting too much from you. From rifq. So he's considerate.
Get along with you in the best way.
Yeah. So Rafiq is that the one that adjusts himself according to you. Instead of always, pushing you or, expecting from you, he looks at you. If you are happy, he smiles. If you are sad, he tries to be sad. Wants to be with you. And then إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. And Allah says that there are many verses about walaya, but he mentions this verse, and he says according to frequently mentioned hadith, mutawatir, frequently mentioned hadith, this is about Imam Ali alayhi salam. And the connection between this verse and the discussion about Sirat is perhaps that Allah wants to say that Imam Ali and the Prophet have wilayah. This is the type of authority that they have. Why? Because the Prophet and Imam are one of those four categories: Nabiyyin wa Shuhada wa Siddiqeen wa Salihin. So, because Imam is also Shaheed, is witness. Yeah. The next point is about guidance.
What does it mean by after the Prophet in the house?
Means after the Prophet, the first person who has wilayah is Imam Ali.
The problem with this, it doesn't say after the Prophet. It says Imam Ali is the first one.
Means first after the Prophet. Like we say, Awwalu man aslam. We don't mention the Prophet himself. Because, in its technically, you can say the Prophet was not a Muslim. Because to be a Muslim means to believe in the Prophet. So he was above this category to say whether he was a Muslim or who he himself is a standard of being a Muslim. Although you can say he was a Muslim, but in a sense he's the founder of Islam. So he is beyond this question whether he was a Muslim or not. So therefore we say Imam Ali was awwalu man aslam.
But I think that when we say Muslim is someone who needs to believe in the Prophet, we mean not the Prophet himself, to the message that he brings.
I know.
Even the Prophet himself believes in the message.
You can say it in that way, but in another sense you can say, for example, was Imam Ali a Shia or not?
Others are considered.
Yeah, so we say he is beyond this question. To be a Shia means to follow him. But we don't say Imam Ali was a follower of himself.
But we can interpret it in another way.
Yeah.
Like someone who believes in that.
Yeah, with some kind of extension, we can say yes, he himself was also a follower of himself as not a person, as holder of that position. But I think most of the time we don't use it in this way.
What about if we change the definition that we say? For example, when we say that a Shia is a person who believes that there is no...
For example, do you know of any incident in which the Prophet embraced Islam in front of others?
We have the verse.
Embraces Islam?
So he says, please be a witness that I am saying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. No, that's different. No, to embrace Islam by declaration. He is beyond this. Of course he has belief, but I'm saying technically, we know that he accepts everything about Islam, but technically we cannot say he was a person who declared Islam by saying kalimatain. Everyone believes in Islam when he accepts him. He is beyond this.
Other times even the Prophet talked about people regardless of Amirul Mu'minin also. For example, when he said there is no one more truthful than Abu Zar. So it means regardless of Amirul Mu'minin. He said there is no one under this sky more truthful than.
That is not truthful. That is more frank. Astaqul lahjatan means he was very frank, very straightforward. He didn't have any diplomacy. Imam Ali was not like him. And this is why Imam Ali, although he had all the knowledge and it was his right, he was very careful about what he used to say. But Abu Zar was saying without any hesitation, and therefore they didn't tolerate him. They sent him into exile. But they had no problem with Imam Ali, because Imam Ali was very much observing what he said. About hidayah, about guidance. You know that sometimes hidayah is used with preposition Allah, sometimes without. Yeah? For example, say ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. But sometimes maybe is used with Allah. Yeah? He says, according to Sahahul Luqa, Jawhari, the difference between these two is not the difference between meaning. It's a matter of whether you want to follow the style of the people of Hijaz or other Arabs. The people of Hijaz, like Mecca, Medina, they used Hada Yahdi without preposition. Okay? So, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim is according to the people of Hijaz. People of, for example, Iraq, they used to use Hada Yahdi with Ela. This is what Allama says according to Sahahul Luqa. So there is not that much difference between Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim or saying Ihdina ila as-sirat al-mustaqim. Okay? But some people wanted to say no, there is a difference. And Allama doesn't agree. Some people have said that when we say Hada Yahdi without preposition, it means al-isalu ila al-matlub. So ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim doesn't mean just ira'atu tariq. It means al-isal ila al-matlub. It doesn't mean just show us the right path. It means actually take us and put us on the right path. Without. Like ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. But when it is with ela, means just show us. Allama says this is not acceptable. And he says we can find opposite, cases or counter examples, in Arabic language, in which with ela is used, for example, for isal ila al-matlub, or without ela is used for ira'atu tariq. There is no such a necessity that whenever it is without must be isal, with ela must be ira'atu tariq. So
the other party, do they have any reason for their claim?
they bring some examples, but those examples are not proving, because then we have counter examples. Even if you bring 10 examples and another person brings 2-3 counter examples, so that is not proved. So Allama says that we just say that this is a matter of people of Hijaz, a style of the people of Hijaz, that they use this. So ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim can be just meaning show us the right path, or can be take us to the right path, because he makes this point also. He says, because even when we say that Allah is actually taking you to that destination and Isal, he does things normally by using some instrument and agents. He doesn't do it, immediately without using any agent. So even al-isal al-matlub in the case of Allah happens by using different things in between. Medium. Things that can be used as medium. So therefore, he says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses hidayah in the sense of al-isal al-matlub, it doesn't that much make difference with ira'atu tariq, in the sense that it doesn't mean that necessarily that person would reach there. It means that it goes through a system, and if that person follows the system, he would reach that point.
And that is why that nobody other than prophets can be hadi.
Or whoever has permission from God.
So Allah accepts the second. This is only Hidayah?
Allama says this is not a matter of linguistic.
Yeah, I am. So what is the exact meaning of hidayah, with or without? Is it only showing the path?
So hidayah has two types. One is to show the path, one is to take to the destination. But he says, in the case of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay?
Which is meant? Which one is meant?
In the case of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even when he is showing the path, or for example wants to take you somewhere, it goes into a hierarchical order. So he doesn't take your hand and put you there. He puts you into a system, and when you go with that system, you reach your destination. It's not that like someone who says, you ask someone, where is haram? He says, come and I take you with myself. So he takes you with his car to haram.
So which one is it? Is it only showing or also isal? Or
So even isal is in this way, that he shows you the system and puts you in a system. He says, وَبِالْجُمْلَةِ فَالْهِدَايَةِ هي الدلالة وإراءة الغاية بإراءة الطريق وهي نحو إيصال إلى المطلوب. This by itself is to take you to the destination. وإنما تكون من الله سبحانه, and it is Allah who can do this. وسنته سنة الأسباب بإيجاد السبب ينكشف به المطلوب. What is the way that he do these things? He does these things. He shows you that these are the factors that if you use them, you can reach your destination.
And say he prepares the ground for you to.
He prepares the ground, yeah, and he helps you. And then Allah says something about the difference. This is a beautiful point, although he doesn't mention the other side of this comparison according to the Quran, but the point that he makes is beautiful. He says, Allah says in Surah Ankabut number 69, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Famous ayah. Those who struggle for our sake or in our way, we will certainly show them our path. Subul, path, plural. And God is with the people who are doers of good, benefactors. Allah says there is a difference between man jahada fillah and man jahada fi sabilillah. Sometimes people struggle and their niyyah is to please God. They do something for the sake of God. Sometimes they struggle in God, in the sense that God Himself is their end, their ultimate end. These people are much more oriented towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they don't do a struggle for the sake of God. They do a struggle to reach God Himself. You understand the difference?
Yes. What does it mean to strive for God, to reach God?
Sometimes, for example, I want to go to heaven, or I want to be saved from hell. This is also jihad fi sabilillah. Sometimes I want to educate people, I want to heal ill people, I want to help poor people to get reward. This is jihad fi sabilillah. But there are people who only think of God Himself. They want Him, they want to reach Him. They love God and they want to reach Him. So this is fillah.
You said the difference between struggling in God and struggling for the sake of the pleasure of God.
Yeah.
The one about seeking Jannah and avoiding Jannah, I understand. But the difference between seeking God and seeking the pleasure of God. The difference.
No. So seeking pleasure of God is very general. What do you mean seeking pleasure of God? Do you mean you want to seek pleasure of God by doing something good so that you are rewarded or you are saved from hell? Yeah. Yeah, we will talk about them as. Or you are only thinking about God Himself. There are people who respect ulama. Why? because of their knowledge, for example. If that alim for some reason is ill and cannot speak, they don't respect him. I'm not earning anything from you. Why should I come and see you? Yeah? But if you really love ulama, whether they are able to speak or not, you have to show them respect. So there are people who are interested in you because not of you yourself, because of your pocket, or because of something that you can do for them. I don't know if I mentioned this story for you about the Bismillah. This the servant of Sultan Mahmud, Ayaz. Did I mention?
I'm not sure.
So this Ayaz was a servant of the king, and king very much loved him. Some people went to the king and said, this person is not interested in you. This person is, making, plots against you. So they wanted to make him hated by the king. And they said, this person is very arrogant, very proud of himself, these kind of things. So there are certain stories. One of the stories is this, that one day the king wanted to test them. So he had some jewelries in his hand and he dropped them. Either he showed that he's dropping or he pretended that they are dropped. Anyway, he dropped them. And these jewelries, were scattered, on the ground everywhere. So he said to ministers and, judge and everyone who was there, go and take. Whoever takes something, it's for him. So they ran away to get as much as they could. But Ayaz didn't move. He stood next to the king and didn't go anywhere.
You are my Jew.
So these people said to the king, look how arrogant he is. He didn't want to bend and collect these things. He's very arrogant. Although you said this is for you, he didn't want to go and collect these things. And the king said, let's ask himself, maybe he has some explanation. And Ayaz said, these people are after your jewelry, so therefore they left you to collect jewelries. But for me, you are the only thing which is important. I don't leave you to collect jewelries. I want to stay with you. Maybe at that time you need my help, maybe you need my service. So the king even loved him more. So some people who are getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah may sometimes gives them something and then they become busy with that and they forget God. Sometimes maybe Allah gives them respect, people respect them, or maybe Allah gives them ability to do some extraordinary acts. They can read people's mind, they can have true dreams, things like this. These are like some jewelries, but if you start admiring these things and forget God, then that is end of your progress. And this can happen to many people. So what is important is that you must not be distracted by anything. Even good things must not become a distraction. Just, you should keep going towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. This is the point that he makes. It's a beautiful point. The difference between jihad fi sabilillah and jihad fillah. But I honestly don't understand how he can take this from this verse. That وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Because I think in Arabic, when you say جَاهَدَ فِي اللَّهِ and جَاهَدَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, I don't think it makes that much difference. The concept is clear, but linguistically, and he doesn't show us any more, evidence.
And somehow the surface of the ayah is against Allah.
Mm.
Let me say in Persian. چون آیه تازه میگه الذین جاهدوا فینا تازه هدایت میکنیم به سبل ما
نشون میده که یه نظر دیگتره تازه به صبح میخواد هدایت بشه.
Yeah, but he says these are special sobol. These are sobol, the paths which get you very close, not the paths which take you somewhere far. He's,
person who does jahadu fina, according to Allah's description, shows that this person is more closer to Allah.
yeah, he's closer than normal people, but still he should get closer. Still he should get closer. That is not a problem. But my main problem is that sometimes one idea can be nice, but still to be able to say that this is what this verse says, you need evidence. You know, there is a difference between something being in itself acceptable and being able to say that this is what the verse means. Some problem with some interpretation of the Quran, especially the mystical interpretation, is that they say something which is by itself nice, but they cannot show how this is taken from this verse. You have to be able to show that how this is taken from this verse. Yes.
Because the end of verse is have a higher position in the Quranic expression, and these muhsinin are those who jahadu fina.
Yeah.
And it shows that Allah's jahadu fina are different from those who jahadu fi sabilillah, or have a higher position. They are muhsinin.
First, Allah doesn't mention this point. So, even if this is the point, he doesn't mention it. But secondly, so muhsin doesn't mean the person who is a mystic. Even a person who is struggling in the way of Allah for the sake of Allah. Like, for example, a mujahid who is going to battle to defend Islamic country. Isn't he a muhsin?
I think Al-Lama in other places believe that maqam al-ihsan is very higher than maqam al-islam and iman. So muhsinin
I don't have problem with that.
higher than mu'minin.
No, I don't have problem with that for the time being. But what I'm saying that, can't we say that a mujahid who is giving his life, he is a muhsin? Why it should be only for the people who are thinking of God himself, which is only, for example, the mystics or, the orafa? Why we should restrict it and narrow it so down? In other words, how do you show that it's only muhsinin who are doing jihad fillah and everyone else is doing jihad fi sabilillah? How do you show this? If it was mukhlisin, I could accept. But it said muhsinin. So, maybe what he says is right, but we need evidence. We need more evidence to accept. So we don't reject, but we say that it doesn't seem enough evidence is provided. The other thing is that, yes.
Why the verse says لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا, but it doesn't say لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ إِلَى الصِّرَاطِ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ? What is the point when we are at the same time asked to say in our prayer اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ throughout the day, during the day, while in this verse the reward?
Both can be said. Even I mentioned on Saturday, sometime in the same verse, both are used. يهدي به الله من اتبع رضوانه سبل السلام ويخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور ويهديهم إلى صراط مستقيم. Sometime in the same verse, guidance إلى صراط مستقيم and guidance إلى السبل is mentioned. You cannot say, no, this must be for two different types of people. For some people is اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, for some people is لنهدينهم سبلنا. No.
Because Subul Salam, one of the way is Sirat al-Mustaqim.
No. Sirat al-Mustaqim is what Al-Mizan says, and I accept. Sirat al-Mustaqim includes every subul. It's general. And all these subul fall under Sirat Mustaqim. And he says this, and I think it's right. Sirat Mustaqim is general, common way that includes all these derivative roads and paths. Again, in the point 4, he makes the same thing. He says, إن الصراط المستقيم لما كان أمرا محفوظا في سبل الله تعالى على اختلاف مراتبها ودرجاتها. So he says, because Sirat al-Mustaqim is available in all these different routes and paths, so it is correct to say, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. What does it mean? It means that although you are already on the right path, but because this Sirat al-Mustaqim has many different levels and stages, still you can say, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. This is one way of explaining why we say اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. There is another way of saying اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, and that is to say we are asking for continuity, because we are in every moment in need of guidance. If you are right now on the right path, maybe next hour you are not on the right path. Maybe in a matter of few minutes, someone deviates. And this is something that I sometimes, say to my brothers and sisters, who listen to me. I say, even if you are in such a high position that you are really connected to Allah, even if you can see angels, don't take this as a guarantee that tomorrow you will be in good condition. Maybe tomorrow you are in a bad condition. Sometimes, we are deceived. Because, for example, you are a good person and pious person, then you think that you are always like this, so you take your past history as a backup to say, so today I am right. But no. Maybe today you are Malik Ashtar and tomorrow you are Amra As. We normally say this, but we say this for our enemies, not for ourselves.
Like Ibn Abbas.
Pardon?
Like Ibn Abbas.
I don't want to judgment about Ibn Abbas, but it's quite possible that sometimes we or other people may today be in a good condition, tomorrow in a bad condition. Or vice versa. Maybe today someone is in a bad condition, tomorrow is a good condition. So we have to be very worried, very careful. Someone said that I think it was Muqaddasa Ardabili who was asked, about what do you think would happen to you if you are, for example, alone with a young, woman. And Muqaddasa Ardabili didn't say, I have no problem. I am Muqaddasa Ardabili, and, a person in my caliber, even if he's left with hundreds of, women, would not do anything. He said, I seek refuge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. It means that even Muqaddas Ardabili is not sure about himself. But many people are sure about themselves. And because they are sure about themselves, then they make mistakes.
We are sure that we make mistakes.
This is also not good, because then you don't resist.
I'm joking.
Yeah. One of ulama said, I haven't seen this myself, but one of ulama said that before Allah actually testing angels about doing prostration before Adam, sajda, the angels knew that one person is going to fail. So they were very worried that maybe the one who is going to fail, it's me. So all the angels were worried. And Iblis was telling them, don't worry. I pray for you and you are not going to fail. He was the only one who was not worried. and was giving, assurance to everyone, don't worry, because of my prayer, you will be saved. And indeed, he himself was the one who failed. So, we have to be very careful, not because, I am, in Jose for many years, or, people respect me, or even because I was a good person necessarily. Pardon? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So we need continuity of this guidance. So if today you are on the right path, still you have to say اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. So this is the second explanation. Allama has different explanation, as I said. He says that because Sirat al-Mustaqim has different stages and different, parts. So اهدنا الصراط المستقيم means I am in one part of Sirat al-Mustaqim, give me the other stage. The other explanation is to say that we want to continue this. Then Allama says that some people make a kind of question or objection, and they say our Sharia, Islamic Sharia, is more inclusive and more perfect than previous codes of law, previous Sharia. So, what does it mean that we Muslims ask Allah to guide us to the path of the previous nations? Because they have concluded that An'amta alayhim min an-nabiyyin means the previous prophets. So, as a Muslim, I ask to be guided to the path of Musa and Ibrahim and Nuh and so on and so forth. But our Sharia is better than them. So why we should ask Allah to guide us to their path, which is not as good or as perfect as Islamic Sharia? So this is what some people have said. And Allama Tabatabai says that we should realize that, he doesn't say this clearly, but I think we can add this to what he says. It's not a matter of Sharia. It's a matter of personal condition. Maybe a person from previous nations is much better than a person from the last nation. It's not because Islam is a better Sharia, so every Muslim is better than every person from previous nations. So the prophets of previous nations, even some of their followers, may be much more ahead of many Muslims. So don't be surprised that we say اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. So he says إن المؤمن المتعارف من مؤمن شريعة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مع كون شريعته أكمل وأوسع ليس بأكمل من نوح وإبراهيم. It's not that every average Muslim is better than Ibrahim and Nuh or even their true followers. So you shouldn't take perfection of Islamic Sharia as a sign of you being better than Christians and Jews or other people. This is also a mistake that we many times make. We think that because our prophet is better than previous prophets, so we are better than followers of the previous prophets. It's not necessarily the case. Maybe your prophet is better than them, but you are worse than their followers. Maybe today there is a Christian who is better than a Muslim.
Even today?
Even today. I don't say maybe there are kuffar who are better than because you may get angry, but sometimes there are Muslims who are worse than kuffar. At least munafiqeen. Yeah? Don't you accept that there are some Muslims who are worse than kuffar? It's easy for me to accept. Saddam was a Muslim. Yeah? But he was worse than many kuffar. So don't be surprised if there are Christians who are better than Muslims or Jew. Pardon? They are Muslims. In reality, they are not. But
Even when
But
they
technically,
have to say
technically they are Muslims.
They should be considered as Muslims.
Hosni Mubarak is Muslim or not?
Yes, he is.
Gaddafi was Muslim, huh? Even he was saying he's Fatimid, huh? Okay. So, don't take the perfection of Islam as an evidence for your own perfection and excellence. These are two separate things. Or don't say because Imam Ali and Imam Hussein were great personalities, so I am great. You can only be great if you are really their followers, if you resemble them. Otherwise, just by saying I am their followers, you don't become great. Yeah? Is it the case like this in Kashan, or the Kashan is different? Okay. So, this is the argument that Allama mentions. And he says it's very strange that some people, yes.
It is for sure that the previous people, if so, our imams are not included in Al-Amtalahi. I think Al-Amtalahi has general meaning, not always limited.
Imams are also included, but when imams themselves say this, what about that?
Forget about that.
Why should I forget that? So for sure, An'amta alayhim includes Nabiyyin. Yeah? Don't forget that. Because Minan Nabiyyin was Shuhada was Siddiqin. So you cannot say it is only about Islamic nation. For sure, Nuh, Ibrahim, Musa alayhimus salam are included. So even Imam Ali in his prayer says, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, sirat al-ladina an'amta alayhim. Even the Prophet says this. Even Allah says to the Prophet, فَبِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِهِ. Yeah? Of course, he doesn't say بِهِ مُقْتَدِهِ, but says بِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِهِ. Because hidayah is something general. Everyone who has that hidayah, you have to follow that hidayah. Don't say, I am better than you, or you are, lower than me. If he has hidayah, you have to follow that hidayah.
So as an answer to this objection, we can say that Al-Alayhim also refers to our Prophet and our Sharia.
It's enough to include them. If it includes them, the problem arises that how you ask to be in the paths of An'amta alayhim, which includes people from previous nations. So we have to have our answer ready. And our answer is ready. That their perfection does not depend on the perfection of their Sharia. They can be better than us, although their Sharia may not be better than Islamic Sharia. These are two separate things.
Excuse me, what you said doesn't apply to non-Muslims nowadays.
Doesn't or does?
Does not.
I said does.
Because if you are speaking about other nations, if you are speaking about Christianity, it is before Islam. But after Islam, it's finished, it's over. The time is...
It's finished in what sense?
That it is not
For example, if Jesus said you have to be honest, this is finished?
No, I mean, you know the hadith that Umar ibn Khattab wrote some pieces of Torah to Prophet and said, is this authentic or not? Prophet said, yes. He said, can I practice according to this? He said, if Moses was alive himself and practiced according to this, he was in fire. Means the time is over for this book and for this
No.
text. So
That's a different issue.
can't compare, Christians of that time, at the time of Jesus, with the Christians nowadays.
No, that's another issue. Look at this. The things that Prophet of Islam has taught us in fiqh, akhlaq, belief, suppose these are 100. These 100 things are not available for Christians today. How many of them are available? I don't know. Maybe 50, 60, I don't know. but 50, 60 are available. Okay? So what about a Christian today who observe all these 50, 60s, and a Muslim who always observes 20% of these 100? Which one is better? I'm not saying Christianity is today as valid as Islam, but I'm saying that there are Christians who are more Muslim than some Muslims.
So the question is that faith is a...
Do you accept this or not?
إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن منهم بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل الصالحات فلهم أجر. No, it's not about their time. In some cases, no, it's not only about their own time. In some cases, even in the time of the Holy Prophet, or even nowadays, when we have some Christians or Jews that they haven't received the message of Islam and they are practicing in their own religion as well, then they are considered as people who shouldn't have fear from God.
No. So, we don't want to go into that issue of pluralism. That's another issue, okay? Just tell me this. If there is a Muslim who doesn't practice Islam, not only in fiqh, akhlaq, believe together, except very little, maybe 10%. And there is a Christian who practices more elements of Islam than a Muslim who practices 10%. Which one is better?
I think this is possible only regarding the practice issues, practical issues.
No, for akhlaq, for beliefs also.
But even for akhlaq,
beliefs are also seen.
What about for beliefs?
If Islam means submission to God. Islam is submission to God. Islam doesn't mean Islam in the sense that is, this just nation.
It's a special religion. What about regarding beliefs? Is it possible for them to have even 1% of the Islamic beliefs while they believe in?
Actually, they have great percentage of it.
Father and the Grace.
Because they believe in one God.
In practice, they don't believe.
They believe in what?
They just say that
they are monotheistic. They are followers of Abraham.
Yeah, they say, but when
they really but they have misunderstanding. Even some Muslims have misunderstanding about God. There are mujassame, there are mushabbihe, there are people who believe that God is like a human being among Muslims. Yeah? So, to have misunderstanding is different from not to believe in one God. If you ask any Christian, do you believe in one God? They say yes. If you say you don't believe in one God, they get angry. No, we believe in one God.
But they give a false interpretation.
They have a mistaken understanding of unity of God. But anyway, they are monotheistic. And they say this is God of Abraham, and the God who is creator, the God who is the Lord. But they think that it can be one and at the same time three.
So in which religion?
We say it cannot be one and three, so you believe in three. Why you don't say it cannot be one and three, so you believe in one? We want always to force them to say we don't believe in one, we believe in three. No, they say we believe in one, and at the same time three. We say, okay, please just focus on that one. This is better attitude. Once I told a Christian friend, we had a conference in Canada. He is a very nice man. And I told him, you believe in God the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Why you always talk, or most of the time talk about God the Son? Not about God the Father. He said, yes, you are right. Although we believe in God the Father more, but in our speech we talked about Jesus more. So I said, could you please, at least for the sake of Muslim brothers and sisters of you, talk more about God the Father? I think this is a good approach. Instead of, attacking them, say, please, we don't have any problem, with Jesus, but we say, please talk more about God the Father. So over time, inshallah, we can have better understanding of each other.
What do you say about this word?
Kafaru. Kafaru, according to the Quran, doesn't include Ahl Kitab. Ahl Kitab are not kuffar, according to Quran. Fiqh is different. Quran, no. Because every science can have its own technical terms. From Quranic point of view, Ahl Kitab are not kafir. It's clear. No one says Ahl Kitab are kafir. No, that's different. This idea is a kufr idea, but Ahl Kitab are not recognized as kafir. Kafir are those who deny God.
What about this verse? I don't know the meaning of this. This is what the Christians, all of them say.
And that is...
Yeah. It means that this belief is wrong. Yeah. But in general classification, because sometimes Allah says even أن يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. So even Muslims are mushrik. You know? This is not the way that generally Allah classifies. The general classification is that you have Muslims, you have Ahl Kitab, and you have Mushrikeen. And Mushrikeen, according to Quran, is different from Ahl Kitab.
So you don't accept this jurisprudential classification that says we have Muslims?
No, I don't have problem with that. I say it's matter of, you coined the term. You can say whoever is not a Muslim is a kafir. I don't have problem with this. But according to the Quran, Ahlul Kitab are treated different from
some may say that
kuffar
according to Quran, when they say that we have
or mushrikeen.
We have Muslims and kafirs are divided into two groups, Ahl Kitab and others. This is what is said in fiqh. So isn't it based on Quran in your understanding?
Not necessarily.
Yes. إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم.
This, I told you, there is... No. You didn't listen. Sometimes Quran says someone is kafir or someone is mushrik in a very general sense. For example, إن يؤمنوا أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. أو ما يؤمنوا أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. It means that even some mu'minin are mushrik. So sometimes the Quran uses the term kufr and shirk in a very general way, that everyone who has a little bit misconception of Tawheed is mushrik. Even a Muslim who does Riyah is mushrik. Okay? But from a theological point of view, we don't consider a Muslim who is doing Riyah a mushrik.
And with a comprehensive view on all the Quran.
Also, we don't consider the people of the book kafir. So,
In its term, kafir and mushrik. We don't count any Muslim kafir or mushrik in its term. Because it says, في نار جهنم خالدين فيها.
but at the same time says, إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا.
In their time, not in this time.
What do you mean time? It's right now.
Nasara in the time of Jesus and Yahud in the time of...
It doesn't say in their times. It's general. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين. Sabi'in in their time they were not called Sabi'in.
What's the meaning of Khatamiyat of Islam?
It means that at this time you have to believe in Islam because this is the most complete religion.
Only is the religion. Only acceptable religion. Yeah?
This is the one that is the most complete religion. So Allah wants you to become a Muslim today. But if someone is not a Muslim today, then you cannot say, if you are not a Muslim, it doesn't make any difference whether you are Christian or Jew or atheist or idol worshipper. It doesn't make any difference. No, it makes big difference. Still, it makes big difference whether you are a Christian or you are an atheist. You are a Hindu or a Christian. It makes big difference. Unfortunately, sometimes people get this wrong. For example, Sometimes they say, if you are not a Shia, it doesn't make any difference whether you worship idols or you worship God. Whether you pray or you do zina, it doesn't make difference. It makes big difference.
Islam is the
And they quote some hadith also, but this is wrong.
Islam is the red line, you know. And
Islam is green line.
Islam is a thing.
Pardon?
Islam is accepting red line, accept Mustafa.
Islam is three lines.
No, you are making, I think, no distinction between two things. Sometimes we want to say, what is the religion that you recommend? What is the religion that you expect people to follow today? So if any part of the world, they ask me, what religion do you recommend today? I say Islam. But at the same time, if someone is not fortunate enough to follow Islam, I don't say, okay, if you don't follow Islam, I don't bother, what do you do? Either you follow Islam or nothing. No. I say, okay, now let's see who is closer and who is second closer. So there are people that don't follow Islam, but they are very close to Islam.
It is reasonably accepted.
Even from the Quranic point. So
I recited the verse.
the Quran says, لَتَجِدَنَّ أَغْرَبَ The Quran says,
Allah says, if Allah said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ مِنْهُمْ, if there was minhum in the verse, you could say, yeah, it refers to them. But because there is no minhum, the end of the verse is not talking about
I have a counter argument against what you say. If man amana billah wal yawm al-akhir refers to Muslims, as you say, not to the believers among those four,
Mentioning them is
so
useless.
why you only say those four? You must say inna allazina amanu wal ladina hadu wal nasara was sabiin wal mushrikeen.
What is the necessity?
Man amana billah means who becomes Muslim is why only those four? It means that Allah appreciates that they believe in God. So if you want to promote Islam, you have to appreciate the good things that people have and say, okay, mashallah, you have come this extent, so please come one step further. Not to say, no, you are not Muslims, go away.
I mean, reasonably it is true, but
Islam is a religion of reason.
yeah.
Islam is a rational reason.
Is there any Quranic proof for
Yes, lots of things. In the Quran, you find lots of praise for Christians and for the people of the book. But you don't find any praise for mushrikeen. Aqrab an-nas, the closest people in love and affection are the Christians. And interestingly, Quran says, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ قِسِّيسِينَ وَرُهْبَانًا. Not only Quran praises Christians, praises the priests and monks. Sometimes, when we have interfaith, I say, look, this is book of God. Because if it was book of a person, a human being, he would not praise the clerics of the rival religion. Because when two religions have problem, most of enmity is between the clerics of two religions. Yeah? But Quran is praising the clerics and monks of Christianity.
Excuse me, but the problem is that we are not sure if the verse, this current verse, whether involve the Christian or the people of the book today.
Why?
Or it talks about people that
So at that time they didn't believe in Trinity. They believed in Trinity at that time.
Yes, of course.
The same is today. I am not saying every priest or every monk, but there are priests and monks who are good. And Ayatollah Mutahari, in one of his speech in the book Haqq wa Batil, he says most of the priests today, they go to heaven. Have you read this?
Yes.
He says most of them. I don't say most of them because I don't know most of them. But Ayatollah Mutahari says, I say many of them, inshallah.
He names Descartes.
Pardon?
He names Descartes. He mentions Descartes.
But he says Christians, he says most of the Christians of today, they go to heaven, he says.
Because of their istighfar, not because of their belief.
Anyway, whatever is the reason. Because some people say, no, there is no istizaf. These are priests. They are not mustazaf. Mustazaf is someone who is behind the mountain. So, we have to appreciate. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ قِسِّيسِينَ وَرُهْبَانًا. Look at this mentality. I love Quran because of this mentality. Quran is not a book which says, either you are with me or you are nothing. Quran says, okay, you have good point. لا تبخسوا الناس أشياءهم. If someone has a little good, you should appreciate. And this is encouraging. Then he can get closer to you. But if you say no, either you are Muslim or you go to hell, then they say you go to hell. Then it's end of conversation.
Maybe this is a kind of inclusivity.
Pardon?
Inclusivism.
Inclusivism, that's maybe the concept.
If it is inclusivism, it's a good one, not a bad one.
The Christian or Muslim, they don't know.
So theologically, we are very clear. We say Islam is the religion that should be followed today. We don't say, you have the choice to be Muslim or Christian or Jews. But at the same time, we say it doesn't mean that if you are a Christian, you achieve nothing. So that it's like polyserat. The difference between these positions is very, subtle. If you are not careful, either you go to this way or that way. So at the same time that you have to stress on Islam being the final message of God, at the same time you have to be careful not to become too strict. You look at Ahlul Bayt, you look at Imam Sadiq alayhi salam in his conversation with Zurareh. Zurareh wants to prove for Imam Sadiq that all non-followers of Ahlul Bayt must go to hell. And this is strange, he's arguing with Imam. And Imam says no. They can go to heaven depending on what is the condition. God knows, maybe in his heart he is submissive to God. Maybe he didn't find the truth. Yeah? So we have to be not more Shia than Imam Sadiq. Not more Catholic than the Pope. Today we have Shia who are more Shia than Imams.
Most of it.
And this is a problem.
I think sometimes something that we usually neglect and ignore when we recite Quran is the compliments and the praises that God has made about the Christians. For example, تَرَى أَعْيُنَهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ مِمَّا عَرَفُوا مِنَ الْحَقِّ. This is something that I think we never will make about someone who believes that he is kafir.
Yeah.
So if he was kafir, God will never compliment or praise someone who doesn't believe in God at all or is considered to be a kafir.
Yeah.
Is it true?
It seems.
Okay,
And something also that the Quran says about Christianity, which is really thought-provoking. Allah says to the Prophet Jesus, Allah Nabiyina wa alayhi salam, that I am going to take you and raise you over the infidels and purify you. وَجَاعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. This ayah is very important ayah. Allah says, I am going to make those who follow you above those who don't believe in you till day of judgment. Who are those who اتبعوك? There are three options. To say اتبعوك means only Christians, which is, I think, not correct, because even Muslims, follow Jesus today. Yeah. The second view is to say اتبعوك are Christians before Islam, and after Islam is only Muslims. This is the mentality of some of brothers here. This is also wrong. Why? Because when we look at reality, we are not فوق الذين كفروا. Yeah?
What's
So,
the meaning of being
the
followed?
third is the right meaning to say. Ettaba'uk means those who believe in Jesus. Before Islam, there were only Christians who believed in Jesus. Today, there are Christians and Muslims who believe in Jesus. And Christian and Muslims together will always be above those who reject Jesus.
What is the meaning of being above?
Means they have power over them. They overpower them.
Domination?
We and Christians together, we do.
It's near to that ayah and
We, Muslims and Christians together, they make more than half population of the world. And all the powers of the world, if Muslims and Christians are together, are in the hands of them. The problem is that Muslims and Christians are not together today. Enemies have made sure that Muslims and Christians fight each other. If Muslims and Christians get together, and this is what happens in the time of Imam al-Zaman, inshallah. Because Muslims and Christians get together, they will be victorious. They will be able to help the people of the world. So, my idea is that if you really love Islam, you have to bring Muslims and Christians together for the service of truth. Next, the next term comes for them, but
They are on the next step.
Too close to us.
No, they are not.
yeah. بله یهود قدرت ندارن. یهود با زیرکی از قدرت مسلمون ها و مسیحی ها استفاده میکنن. شما اصلا آمریکا یهود چند نفر؟